If they have a bad season,
correct,
they accumulate. If they have a good season, then
right.
So my day's coming soon enough.
Sounds like a Dallas fan. Hello and welcome to the Think RBA podcast. I am your boy, Mr. OK. Got my brother here. My brother is in the flesh.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
It's good.
Sir, it is good to be in your presence, sir.
It's likewise.
Like, it's
a gentleman's agreement.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But the energy, right?
Okay.
The energy.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different, especially when I'm lagging. And you're like, I think he said something, so I'm just going to laugh.
There's a slight delay, and yeah, that's it. But we're here. No delays, no lags. Good to see you, man. So as always,
sir.
As always. And because you're here, I think it is most fitting that we discuss. I'm a fan, but it's your love, your passion.
Are we talking about football?
We are talking about football, my friend, right? Pigskin. Is that what it's called? Pigskin?
Yeah.
And is it really pigskin, though?
Yeah, it's made out of pigskin.
All right.
That's why they say throw around the pigskin.
Well, I want to talk about something that's historic, something new that I believe you are probably very, very excited about because it just means more football.
Sure.
Right? There is this, the CFP, hashtag CFP is what I'm seeing around. College football playoffs.
Yes.
Which
they've had. So
true. But
so you talk about a little bit about the history, right? So like pre-CFP and there being no playoff at all.
Correct.
It was up to a committee and constantly year after year after year, it was always, this debate because they just chose, they chose all the bowl games.
Right.
And then they chose who was going to play for the national championship. There was no playoff.
Right.
It was just like, we're going to take these two teams and they will be anointed the two best teams.
Right.
Based on all the factors, strength of schedule, whatever, in that bowl, and that will be the national championship. Right. And every year after year, there was always like people screaming, from the rooftop that their team had a legitimate case to be in that game.
Oh yeah, sure.
There was the arbitrary way, from our perspective, because you don't get to see the deliberations. You don't see, they just announce, led to, okay, we'll create a 4-team playoff. But again, as history has shown, that's not enough.
Of course not. Of
not
course
enough. Not. So what we learned in that was same thing. You've got the top 10 teams where, okay, you're let's say your top 4 that get in, still based on a lot of those same factors. Well, now teams 5 and 6 are like, where are we at? Right. One might be a Big Ten winner, right? That only has, let's say it has 2 losses, but they won the Big Ten versus a non-SEC team that has 1 loss. But maybe that team had a stronger strength of schedule or something like. Sure. So you see teams get like, of course, pushed out. So then the 5, 6, and 7, like, what about us? And finally, there was enough outcry. I mean, I felt the same way last year with Georgia, right? Georgia had dominated college football for 2 years, 45 straight wins without a loss.
That's impressive.
We took 1 loss.
That's impressive.
And it bumped us out of the playoffs.
That's crazy.
1 loss in 2 years.
I'm sorry, what?
And it bumped us out of the playoffs, out of the 4, right?
Some haters out
there.
So
had there been a 12 team last year, we wouldn't have got bumped out, right? So I was kind of in that boat. I was in that boat. Like, that's my squad. And I was like, you're telling me that this team has been one of the most dominant teams over the past couple of years in college football, just won 45 straight games, and they lost 1 in the SEC the SEC championship game to Alabama of all teams, and now they're out. Make it make sense.
I'm gonna use my Kenisms and say that's asinine.
Asinine. That's flabbergasting.
It's preposterous.
So hence the noise started to grow again about we need more teams, we need more parity.
Right.
Let them go into this bowl style, this single elimination, which
Yeah. So this is the consolidated bowl of bowls.
Yeah.
It's the bowl of bowls, right?
Well, it's like all
the bowls in one, right? The winners of these go into the different bowls, and then that gets filtered further, and it becomes the ultimate bowl.
Well, yeah.
Super Bowl.
It's not going to be the Super Bowl.
I got you.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, right? So like the first round is the first round, but then the second round, quarterfinals, I think that's where the bowl games start. Right. So, and then you're going to have your semis and your national championship game.
And listen, man, more football.
Bro, look, I love this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
I love this. And I know we're going to get more into it, but like
we are. We absolutely are.
Anything that gives us more football.
I'm just a fan of more sports, man.
Oh, I mean, look, it's like a game 7 that we historically never going to have.
Never going to have.
Right? I mean, even the 4 team, right? Like if your team got in, that's 2 more games potentially if you won out. Right? 2 more games, then you would have had or 1 more game. You would have had the previous year because you would have only had 1 bowl game.
So now we have 12. We had 4. Now the 3 times more. We have 12.
Yes.
This is the start, though. Do you think this will grow? If there's enough interest, which clearly there.
So I don't see how you. Okay, look. See, now I got to stop myself because I want to say one thing. My heart says one thing, and my head says another. Like, look. So we can start with one simple phrase: money talks.
Money talks.
And so whatever I say is moot. If the money is right, they'll figure out a way to do it.
Oh, I think the money will be right.
That's number one. What I would say is that take the money out of it. In my sports heart frame of reference, I don't see how you get past 12. I mean, like you're talking about the top 10 plus 2 teams in the country. Right, you rank a top 25 like this, and again, this is football, right. This isn't basketball where you can do tournament style, bracket of 64 because like this is football. Like you're playing an extra amount of games in a game that's very violent. Your risk of injury is so much higher in football than like a NCAA March Madness tournament, right? Like I don't think, because here you're going potentially 3-4 games beyond what you would normally go. That's a lot. I mean, NFL players, right? When they extended the schedule, to 18 games, right? That was a big outcry. It's like 1 extra game on our schedule. It's our bodies are taking a beat, like,
right.
But the money was right, make it happen. But you're talking about here, like a couple of extra games potentially, especially if you're a higher seed and you run the table, right? So that part of it is just like I don't see how you could go add even more games to it. I think the way they've set it up, in my opinion, I think is great.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this as a page that they've taken out of the NBA basketball. You got the play-in tournament, single elimination. Football said, why should we be behind? We're gonna follow a similar type of suit, and if money talks, this thing can grow and become even.
Oh yeah, I mean I think that the money talked because 4 teams was not enough.
Clearly.
4 teams was not enough. And I'm glad that they didn't go to 8 because I think we would have had the same thing. But I think once you cover the top 10,
that's good enough.
That's enough to figure out who's the best team in the country.
Okay. And again, it's the first year, right? We'll see. I'm sure there'll be modifications to this as in everything, right? It's the pilot.
No.
So we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, college football is pretty stubborn sport too. So.
It is. But, sir, this slate of 12 in no way aligns with the top 25.
Well, that's not true.
Well, hold on, because there was 2 teams that immediately came to my mind before I even saw anything. As soon as I saw the bracket, I went to go check 2 things. I'm not a Georgia fan, so I didn't go to check that, right? But I checked 2 things, which was, where is Colorado Buffalo? Where's Deion playing? Where's that Deion squad?
They're not good enough to be in the.
So that was the first thing, and then the second thing I was like, all right, where's Bama? And they're both not there. So that to me, as a not so crazy fan, I want there for entertainment, right? I know those are the top teams. At least Bama is a top team. I want to watch them. They're not there. So now how do you fix that issue?
So
where the casual fan doesn't get.
That's the casual though. That's the thing. And so the matchups, you can't look. There's too much money and everything that's already invested into this happening that you can't base the matchups on casual, like, oh, we're going to put Alabama in because it's Alabama, right? Well, this isn't the same Alabama. Nick Saban is not on the sideline. They've got a new coach, a brand new system, a whole new staff. This is not your mama, your daddy's, your granddaddy's Alabama, right? So just to say like, oh, Alabama should be in there. Now, coincidentally, they are the only team in the top 12 that did not get into the playoffs.
Exactly.
But they also are the only team in the top 12 that has 3 losses.
Okay.
And not only they have some really good wins, right? And this is where like the debates happen, right? So we can start having it, right? The debate that's been going on right now is specifically with Alabama and Miami, right? Because number 12 ASU. So just for those that are listening, just for context of what I'm saying, 1 through 10 is in. Right. This was from the 25 top 25 rankings, the final rankings.
Yes.
1 through 10, they all made the playoffs.
Yes.
Right. Bama was 11. Arizona State was 12. They got in. Miami was 13. They were the 3 teams that primarily had a case. Ole Miss kind of had a case.
Okay.
And so here's where we ended up is Bama, right? They beat Georgia, right? They had some good wins, right? Georgia ended up being the number 2 team. They had a win against us, but they also had some really bad losses. 20-3 loss against Oklahoma, some other losses. Once you get the 3 losses, like that's kind of hard to justify getting into the playoff because everybody else above you is either a conference winner or they have 0, 1, maybe 2 losses.
Question then. Follow-up question. Clemson, ranked 16.
Yes, but that's because this is where it got interesting, right? On the final day, right? On Saturday, which is yesterday, we're recording Sunday night, right? Georgia, Texas played for the SEC championship, right? So had that gone differently, things would have been a little bit different. Georgia would have been in a different spot because if they lost to Georgia Tech 2 weeks ago, they would have had 3 losses, just like Alabama, but they would still have been playing in the SEC championship game. So the question becomes, if Georgia has 3 losses and they win the SEC championship, how do you keep them out? They won the conference championship in the best conference, even though they have 3 losses. Alabama has 3 losses, and Alabama beat Georgia head to head. But
so now you're getting into
Georgia won the whole conference.
Right.
Now, thankfully, Georgia went into 8 overtimes.
That was crazy, bro.
Which was crazy against Georgia Tech. Right. And so then they only have 2 losses. And on top of it, they won the conference championship. Now they're the number 2 team because they beat Texas twice, who's the number 3. Right.
Okay.
So Oregon, who's number 1 in the Big Ten, they beat Penn State in the Big Ten championship. That's why Oregon's 1, Penn State's 4. So fun fact, Notre Dame at number 5, they're independent. They're not part of a conference. They can never get a bye like one of the top 4 teams. Just crazy. But anyway,
crazy.
Another little intricate role of the playoffs. So to go back to it, SMU was leading the ACC and they were playing Clemson. Had SMU won, Clemson wasn't making the playoffs, but Clemson beat SMU yesterday as an underdog.
Okay.
So how do you let out Clemson, who won the conference? Right. So then it became, okay, Clemson is in, right? So Clemson won their conference they're in. Arizona State, they won their conference they're in. Georgia, Oregon, etc. Right. The question became SMU. What do you do with them? They were the number 1 team in the ACC. They had the best record in the ACC, but they lost the conference championship. And so really it came down to SMU, Bama, and Miami. Now, Ole Miss, I said kind of because they also beat Georgia. That was one of Georgia's 2 losses was Alabama, Ole Miss. They had an outside shot, but it wasn't a realistic outside shot. I mean, I think really it came down to Miami and Bama.
Okay.
But they just made a decision to let SMU because they did have the better season record. They let them in. They had less losses than Alabama. So now the strategy is like Alabama, their AD has already gone out and said, well, now I'm going to reconsider our out of conference schedule, right? Because if they don't favor strength of schedule and they're just looking at win-loss, then why would I go play a tougher schedule outside the conference?
That's a good point.
If I just got to worry about winning within my conference.
Yeah, and this is going to change a lot of things going forward with scheduling, with the way you approach a game, how you approach teams. It's
going to become a whole new strategic thing. But I mean, really, like the drama was because Clemson upset SMU yesterday. So had SMU won, Clemson would have been out, and I fully believe that probably Bama would have made that top 12.
And so I have a question now. Based on all that's fine. Normally, the first seed plays, right? The worst seed.
I got no answer for this. I know
where
you're going with this.
Just for our audience, right?
Yeah, we'll have to put the graphic up, right? Because we're looking at a graphic right now.
Right. So like the first seed plays the winner of, or the worst seed, right? And then it goes that way, right? 1 and 12,
Usually.
2 and 11.
That's how the NFL does it.
Correct. And NBA does the same thing, or college, I think, believes the same thing. This is not following that thing at all. So I'm wondering what the rationale is behind why or how they did it, because here you have the one playing the 9-8 and or I think it was, a 4 playing the 12 or something like that. It just didn't align the way we're used to seeing it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no idea, as you said.
I mean, so I don't have any idea. I was trying to research it a little bit, but I really wasn't sure. The only thing that I can guess is that the likelihood, if all favorites win, then the 1 would be playing the 8, 2 would be playing the 7, the 3 would be playing the 6, 4 would be playing a 5, and that would be consistent. Assuming all the favorites won.
Right. Okay.
It would be consistent with the 1 playing the lowest seed.
Except you have a 12 here. That's favorite.
But if they don't win, you know what I mean? That's the only thing I can think. That's the only thing I can come up with is that the likelihood of like the 8-9, right? That's the matchup that has the likelihood of the lowest possible seed, right? Because the other ones have bigger gaps in between them. Right.
8-9
so
Ohio, 8
statistically,
Tennessee 9.
right? Statistically, the 1 seed is playing one of the worst teams. So that's the only thing I could think of. But I mean, quite frankly, I know we'll talk about this later. But like, if I'm Oregon in the 1, I'm glad. I'm glad that I don't have to take. Well, I guess you'd get them anyway, so never mind. You'd avoid them anyway. But it's an interesting dynamic. I don't think I've seen it where it's set like that. It always rotates depending on the highest seed.
Right.
But maybe that's something. Maybe that's one of the tweaks they'll make. Who knows?
You know what tweak they'll make? I know the tweak they'll make. They're gonna have a play-in tournament.
Oh, jeez.
They're gonna give 2 extra spots.
No.
No, I think that'd be a little risky.
Of course, I'd be good for more football, but no.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That's that's something I think we need a little deeper dive on. Like, just what was the rationale behind something like that? Maybe the committee will come out.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well, looking at this whole thing, what are your thoughts on maybe predictions?
Yeah, sure.
What do you feel, or who do you feel will move on to the next round into the bowl games? Into
the next round. Okay. So, let's first start with the buys.
Sure.
Right. So,
sure.
For the first bye, we've got Oregon. They're number 1.
Yep.
I think they were the only undefeated team this year.
Okay.
They got a great coach, Dan Manning, whatever. I don't know why it just flew out of my head. I think it's Lanning, but he's really good coach. It comes to mind like either last season or the season before Prime. I think it was last season with Prime. Like they went, Oregon and Colorado went at it. And I remember listening to his either pregame or postgame speech, and I was like, yeah, that's the kind of coach, like I could see players wanting to run through a wall. And Oregon is historically historically good. So now they've moved over to the Big Ten and they went ahead and went undefeated. Of course, you got my guys. Georgia. Bruh, Georgia is Bulldogs. To be frank, like, I want to be careful with how I say this.
Like this is your year?
We're not. I don't think that we're a good enough traditional 2 seed.
Okay.
Like they're gritty as hell. Like they figure out a way to win, like scrap out these games, but like barely scrap out these games.
So they're very much Atlanta sports.
But when you look at them, it's like, no, they're beatable. Like it's not like the Georgia of the last couple years. That's for sure.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Okay.
I mean, even this game is like our quarterback got hurt. No, we only went to 1 overtime in the championship against Texas. But like our quarterback got hurt, and then this other kid came in, 5-star recruit, and I mean he didn't play crazy, but he played well enough to get the win. And then there was the drama, side note, because then he got hurt.
Oh boy.
In overtime. And the next play, because what he did was so overtime, I don't know if you know, because I know you don't hardcore watch college football, but like the first overtime and the second overtime, I believe, it's you start at the 25, each team gets a possession. Right. You score, you can do whatever. Yep. And after that, it becomes alternating 2-point conversions attempts.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's what was crazy about it going to 8 overtimes, because like they both kept either failing or whatever.
Right.
But this one, we stayed within 1 overtime, right? So we won the toss, we deferred. You always want to defer. let the other team do what they're going to do first. And then you know what you have to do. We held them to a field goal. Then we got down, and then our quarterback took off up the middle, took it down to like the 4 and got blasted. Helmet off, got blasted.
Oh, wow.
So he had to come out. And our quarterback that got hurt at halftime, Carson Beck, came in, couldn't even move his arm, took the hand off, handed it off, touchdown.
Wow.
Just crazy story, right?
Wow.
Just like drama.
That is drama.
The script writers on point.
They are always on point.
So they're scrappy. They're a scrappy team, but I also am a little bit worried about them.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Interesting. Well, they play who? Notre Dame?
We'll get to there.
Okay.
And then Boise State is a 3 seed. Obviously, they have the Heisman finalist, crazy running back that's setting all the records, Ashton Gentry. And then Arizona State was the interesting one. That is the 4 seed was the one that I just did not see coming, because you see in the top 25, they were 12.
Who did you see?
So I guess I'm trying to figure out if they just gave it to, I think that they gave it to conference winners.
Okay.
I think they gave it to the conference winner, because it would have been Big 10, SEC, Big 12, but they didn't give it to ACC. It would have been I don't remember what. So just interesting to me that they're the 4 seed. They're probably, I would say that they're statistically probably the weakest of the 4 seeds. So anyway, those are the ones who have a bye. So which matchup do you want to start with? The 5-12?
Yeah, let's do 5-12 first.
Okay, 5-12, which is, you want to read them out?
Sure. 5-12, we have the Texas Longhorns versus
Clemson. So I got Texas in this all the way. I've watched Georgia play them. They played them tight both times. Texas is a tough team. They've got a defense filled with NFL caliber players. They've got a tough offense. They got a seasoned coach in Sarkisian. If I'm Texas, honestly, I'm salivating.
Really?
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay.
All I got to do is beat Clemson and Arizona State.
But that's the easy route?
I don't got to go up against Ohio State.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or Penn State, or all I got to do
Notre
is
Dame. Yeah.
all I got to do is beat Clemson and Arizona State. Out of all the teams, if I'm a coach or a player, I'm feeling happiest right now to be a Texas Longhorn. That's probably the best place that they could have landed.
Interesting.
But I would have felt probably the same about most teams that landed there, but especially them, because Texas is tough. Texas very easily could have been in the 2 seed.
Oh, okay.
Right. Had they won yesterday, we won in overtime, but that would be flipped.
Interesting. What I will say this though, any given Sunday, anything can happen.
Or Saturday.
Anything's possible.
No, anything's possible, of course. But if you wanted to chart the easier path,
got it. Yeah.
I think that to me that's a more beneficial route, because the 4 seed in the buys, that's the easiest path. The 2 you want to stay away from are Oregon and Georgia.
1 and 2, right? Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's go on to 6 and 11. We have Penn State, and then we have the SMU.
We had to look it up.
Southern Methodist United.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I got to be a homer. Kind of a homer.
Okay.
Is it kind of a homer?
Kind of a homer.
Go with my old stomping grounds. I just think that the ACC is kind of but I'll say it's getting better.
Okay.
Right? Clemson used to dominate. Right? Back when they had Trevor Lawrence and they had D-Hop and they had all these guys, right?
Okay.
Clemson, that's when they won a couple, I think they won 1 or 2 natties, right? Clemson was really dominant. It's getting better now, but it's still just it's not quite the redheaded stepchild of football conferences, because everything's about the SEC and then the Big 10 and then the Big 12, usually is in that order. So I'm going to have to give it to Penn State. I just think that they're probably more tested. They've played Ohio State. They've played Michigan. They've played Oregon, even though they got molly-whopped.
Okay.
But still, I think that they're tested. They're the number 4 in the rankings. They were the number 4 team in the final top 25. Right. So, I think that I'm going to give it to them. Penn State's going to beat SMU.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, we have our next one, 7 and 10.
Are you going to get predictions, or are you just...
No.
You don't care?
I'm in the
you're in the passenger
seat.
You second everything I say?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it.
If I do give you my predictions, they'll just be darts.
How about the championship game? You can give a prediction.
Sure. So next one, 7 and 10, Notre Dame and Indiana.
I didn't even know Indiana. I had to go back and double check. I was
well, and the winner of that plays
Yeah.
Who do you guys want to see? I'll frame it that way. Who do you want to see?
I mean, obviously, I'd want to take the team that's statistically not as good.
Sure.
But I really don't. I'll be honest. Like, I've kept up with and watched a lot of college football, but not a whole lot of Indiana or Notre Dame.
Okay.
But I mean, my mind tells me that Notre Dame will win.
Okay. Well, are you preparing for that game? I'm assuming you'll be.
Well, we played. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Notre Dame was really good. We went into Notre Dame to start, I think, our first or second game of the season.
Ooh, that's hostile territory.
We went into Notre Dame and smacked them.
Oh, wow.
But that was on one of our national championship years.
Wow.
So,
okay.
So look, I want my team.
It might be payback time.
I want my team to play the best of the best.
Of course.
You don't want somebody to say, oh, you have a Mickey Mouse ring or a asterisk championship because
that's one of the toughest rings ever.
Because, you had an easy route to
Oh, the Celtics? So, okay, next one, 8 and 9. Ohio State,
no.
Tennessee versus number 1.
Tennessee is good. I mean, don't get me wrong. Tennessee is good. They fought hard in the SEC, and they played some really good football. They pushed Georgia, and that's my frame of reference. I watch more Georgia than anything, of course. But Ohio State, man, they're still good.
Historically, man,
they're still good. I mean, like they're not quite as good as they've been the past couple of years. They lost, that a lot of that talent, the CJ Strauss, all 4 or 5 receivers. It was Jackson Smith and Jigba. You had Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and then Marvin Harrison Jr.
You're talking about a Pro Bowl?
Like,
Is this Pro Bowl?
So a lot of that talent now has transitioned to the NFL. So they're still kind of in this limbo where they've been recruiting. So they're still good, but they're not quite where they were. They're not to that dominant phase.
Got it.
But I still give it to them over Tennessee. I think they got more talent.
Okay. Well, then that leaves now. Let's go back start at 4 because you have Arizona,
Texas,
Arizona
Texas. State. Yeah, no, that's like I said before. If I'm Texas, I'm salivating.
Oh, Texas wins that one.
Texas is gonna win that one.
Okay, you got Boise State versus Penn State.
This one's hard, but it's hard because you don't know. Like in your mind, Penn State should be a better team, but Boise State, bro, they've got the most electric running back that we've seen in a long time. I mean, this kid is out there just shattering records. No, it's he's shattering records for how many yards he's running. He should have run away with the Heisman by now.
Oh wow!
But there's still a discussion between him and Travis Hunter because Travis Hunter plays 2 ways, but he's doing some things from the running back position that have never been done. He's a monster. He is a freaking monster. So could I see him running for 300 yards and literally putting the team on his back?
Wow!
And yeah. I could see it because he's done it multiple times this year.
So he's doing a Josh Allen?
I said I could see it.
Okay.
But I'm actually going to go Penn State.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Woo. Okay.
Be a little homer. I'm gonna say they can do enough to load up on a run to contain it and say figure out another way to beat us. Okay. At least that's how I'd game plan if I were the D coordinator.
Sure. All right. Interesting. Well, sir. So you have Georgia and Notre Dame.
I mean, come on.
I know, obviously, but is that are we talking close, good game? No. We talking blowout? What are we talking?
Dogs, man. We talking about the dogs.
DMX?
No.
Oh, well,
kind of. Look, with Georgia these days, I don't even know. I'm not calling a blowout. I'm not calling a. I don't know.
Okay.
Look, as long as
just come up with
as long as we win in 8 overtimes, 9 overtimes. Now, what'll be funny is the bracket's setting up for Georgia Penn State so who has the longest or most overtime games is 9. So we almost beat the record.
Almost so close.
Almost tied it.
So close.
And that was Penn State against Illinois a couple years ago, I think 2021.
Okay.
Which the crazy part about that game is all of the other, if you look up the, all of the the highest overtime games, they're all these ridiculous scores.
Okay.
Right. In the 40s, whatever. That game with the most overtime was 1917.
Wow, that's crazy.
So they clearly, I have to go back and look at all the box score, but
game.
They probably were doing nothing in all of those overtimes, and then finally somebody did something in the end. Because there's no way they were not going back and forth scoring. That's for sure.
Wow.
So I don't know how they're gonna win, but Georgia, come on, Georgia.
All right, so you got Georgia there, and you got Ohio versus Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon. Oregon's they're gonna be tough. They're gonna be tough.
They're gonna be tough. I mean, it's gonna be okay. Interesting. I think that might be the game of the whole thing.
No, that's going to be the one that we talk about next.
Next. Go ahead, take us there.
Which is Oregon, Texas. That's probably going to be the game of the game. Well, it depends. If it ends up Oregon, Georgia, that could be.
I was going to say, what about the other way?
Oregon, Texas is going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, we talking two Goliaths. Just putting their things on the table and just like, let's go. Like, I will sit there. I will be tuning in for that game.
Okay.
For sure. So like Oregon, Texas, like both teams have so much talent, right? Oregon is really well coached. Texas is well coached, although they did have a lot of penalties in the SEC championship game, but they have so much NFL caliber talent. Like it'll be a really interesting like clash of styles, clash of play, and I could see it being a high scoring game that still is a defensive battle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I could see them really going at it. So I'm actually excited for that one.
Okay. So that we got Oregon.
Well, I didn't pick that one.
I know I was gonna say we got Oregon and Texas. Who do you have coming out of that?
My heart wants to give the
underdog
Georgia Texas 3 for the Natty. Like that would be fun. Script writers could write that one up, but then we would have been the ones who beat them twice. So like them slaying us in the national championship game is not the narrative that I want. So my head tells me to go with Oregon.
Oregon. Okay. Got it.
So I'm going to go Oregon.
Okay. Oregon.
But honestly, I won't be mad at anything that happens.
Okay. So we have Oregon going to the final. We got Georgia, Notre Dame. Who do you have coming out of that?
Georgia, Penn State.
Sorry, that's right. Georgia, Penn State. And I'm sure you got Georgia coming out of that.
Yeah, I got Georgia.
And your heart.
And even if Penn State, let's just say Boise State, I'll tell you what, if Georgia ends up playing Boise State, I'm a little bit worried because we give up yards on the run. And we did to Texas, and for whatever reason, they kind of slowed down a little bit. But like we're susceptible to giving up some yardage on the ground, and I could see Gentry having a day against us like that. Boise State for Georgia scares me.
Oh boy!
So I'm gonna be pulling for Penn State. I'm gonna be pulling for Penn State for sure, and because they're the former hometown team, from the little Pennsylvania boy.
That's right.
Before I became a city slicker, can move down here to the city.
I love that accent. Can you do the rest of the episode of that?
No, I'm not. So yeah, but I'll take Georgia over. But obviously, I'm gonna roll with my team no matter what.
Got it. So then in the final, you got Oregon and
Georgia.
What do you got?
I mean, I'm always gonna go with my.
Obviously.
I'm always gonna go with my squad.
But that'd be one heck of a game, man.
Yeah, I mean,
would that be the game?
I mean, yeah,
regardless of stage, but just two teams, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the game. I think Georgia, Oregon, or Georgia, Texas 3, like either one of them is gonna have the intrigue of like a national championship.
Notice he said Georgia. It doesn't matter who.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who. I'm saying like, but no, Georgia, Tennessee, or Georgia, Ohio State does not have the same like
sure
oomph as Georgia, Oregon, or Georgia, Texas 3.
What I meant was Georgia stays. The rest of the.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I got you.
Because I have loyalties to Georgia. I mean, but like I said, Georgia could be got. Don't get it twisted.
That is true.
As they've been making me nervous this year.
So here's I was going through some of the pundits and their predictions.
Here we go.
And 3 teams keep coming up.
Oregon.
1.
Texas.
No.
Who?
Georgia.
Not
as much though.
Okay.
Oregon was the most.
Okay.
Second one. Can you guess? Guess which one?
So not Georgia.
Not Georgia.
Okay. SMU.
Oh.
Notre Dame. Really?
That
I haven't been following.
Coming up.
I haven't been following them this year. I'm gonna have to check them out.
The Oregon Notre Dame kept coming up. That combination kept coming up with different results for different people. But I was like, really, Notre Dame? Out of all these teams.
I'm going to have to do some more research on Notre
Dame. Yeah. So it was them, Notre Dame, and Georgia. Those names just kept coming up, but Oregon and Notre Dame more than any other.
Again, just something different about SEC football. And especially a team like Georgia that's been tested so like through and through this year. Like, I don't know, man. Like, and that's the flip side of it is when you think that they're out of it, right? At halftime of the SEC championship game, like it was kind of bleak of like, oh, it looks like Texas has our number. And then our quarterback just got hurt. And then all of a sudden, it's just like they figure out a way to grind this shit out. Like,
I mean, that's cool and all, but how long does that last?
Maybe to the Natty. I don't know. But I'm just saying, so like there's just
hopefuls,
but like
hopefuls.
but by getting tested like that.
Yeah,
like,
no, of course,
and
of
I will
course.
say this, right? Because we talked earlier about strength of schedule, everything else.
Yeah.
Georgia had one of the like highest strength of schedule. Like they played one of the hardest schedules this year.
The toughest schedule?
One of. I don't know if it was the toughest in the country, but like it was up there in comparison to all the other playoff teams. Like they played really, really tough.
So is your quarterback will he be back? I guess.
I don't know yet. I don't think I've seen anything yet about saying whether or not.
So that also impacts outcome, right? Key positions.
Well, I mean, the buy is much needed, right?
Yes,
you get some. But honestly, like to be frank, like he wasn't playing well. Like in that first half, he was not playing well.
Okay.
Right. So maybe the backup coming in, backup has the ability to run the ball a little bit better. So who knows, right? It could work out. It could not work out. But either way, my point is like, if you've been tested, if you've been battle tested over and over and you figure out a way consistently to pull through and get the job done, like,
you know what it takes.
So when you get into that game, that battle of a game, which team is gonna wilt first? Yeah. The one that hasn't been as tested or the one that will. True. So that's what gives me the confidence of like, even though they're not out there beating teams by 60, but they are able to handle adversity. They are able to come back and win games that they probably shouldn't have won. And so that's what gives me the confidence to say they could take that all the way. But some of those other teams like Oregon's going to be tough. They got to play Texas again. That's going to be tough. Tough.
Well,
so
assuming they do.
Right. I'm saying if. Like those would be hard games. Games.
So now you have Georgia coming out from the whole thing, I'm assuming.
I mean,
okay. What is Georgia's playing Oregon. Georgia's coming out with the win. And then what happens going forward after? Let's say this is over, right? These go back to their normal divisions and life goes on with their...
Yeah, Georgia continues to dominate the SEC.
And that's it.
I mean, that's what we've been doing.
Okay.
I mean, we own the SEC for like the last 4 years. Like,
ooh, you heard it here.
But I mean, like they do a great job recruiting. They do a great job of handling the whole NIL process. And, I mean...
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like Georgia's a strong program. They're perhaps the new age Alabama of old, right? I mean, Saban's gone, right? The window's there.
Yeah.
You know, so but they recruit well. They don't lose a lot of games. They, like I said, the quarterback went out and a 5-star recruit came in right behind him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They won state championships and like they've got depth to continue on.
It's a valid point, and I look forward to seeing the outcome of these results in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think the first round games are like right before Christmas. So we got a little time.
Okay,
but definitely, I'll be texting you about it, and then we'll do a follow up. Like,
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Even if it's not here on like a quick little 10-minute episode or something.
Absolutely.
Follow up with the picks and where things went wrong.
Now I'm going to be following. Now we're following.
I got you hype
astutely. Like, where's Ken's pick set? Oh man, he was right.
Oh man, he's 100% right.
Or he was 100% right through and through, all the way. What are the chances of that?
Slim to none. I'm really terrible at picking games. Actually,
really?
Yeah, my family does pick them, NFL pick them. Like, yeah, I'm like second to last because see, the thing is, like, they go and for the most part, the strategy is like just pick whoever Yahoo says is the favorite.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I like to try to find the rare upsets, except they don't end up.
Except that when you pick them first,
and of course, like I don't pick against my team.
Right.
To roll.
That's the other issue.
So what if we have like what 7 losses now?
So you're not a good,
like seven times. So like I'm automatically 7 behind.
Right.
Everyone else who picked against.
Right.
They like to pick against my team because they know I won't. So like, for them it's like, yeah, we get one wrong, but then if they have a bad season,
correct, they
accumulate. If they have a good season, then
right.
So my day's coming soon enough.
Sounds like a Dallas fan. But sir, I look forward to it. This was fun. I learned a lot. Hopefully our viewers learned some new things because this is again a new historic thing that's coming through, and I look forward to seeing how the outcome and when the money talks, right. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how the growth happens.
New Year's Day. That's when Georgia plays whoever Notre Dame or IU.
Popping on and pop.
If Georgia plays Notre Dame on New Year's Day, we might have a watch along.
Hey, might have to
watch along party. Nobody's working. Nobody's at school.
All right, beautiful. Well, Until next time, sir.
All right.
I look forward. Think RBA. Peace.
Peace.